The following is a Metro TV special presentation.
Please welcome to the stage Emmy-winning news anchor from Wave 3 TV and graduate of the Leadership Louisville class of 2017, Shannon Cogan.
Hello, it is so wonderful to see all of you here today, and look what I found! Some extra eclipse glasses. I hear some of you were looking for these. I hope you had a great time watching the eclipse yesterday. It was truly spectacular. The good news is we're gonna have it again in 7 years. The bad news is that those eclipse glasses that you were looking for, spending hours calling your friends for, they expire in 3 years. So the search will be on yet again. Welcome to the 2017 Leadership Louisville Luncheon, and we have a great day planned for you today. And how about this room, huh? Doesn't it look great? So wonderful to see all of you here today. So our theme is, Texas is big, but we're kind of a big deal too. And she liked that? And to get things started, we have a great performance. A St. X grad from Louisville, and listen to this. He just landed a music deal with the NFL. Isn't that awesome? Woo! Justin Donahue is his name. Maybe went to school with some of you, but now he goes by Young Youth, and it's his single, Only One King. You're gonna be hearing it Thursday night football games. So he's come a long way from being named the Trinity and St. X winner of Battle of the Bands. Let's welcome Young Youth.
Thank you. How we doing, Louisville? Yeah, as a boy, always knew I one day have the courage to be king. Let's go, yeah. Time flew when I grew up. Now I'm ready for the promise that it brings. You only wanted me to screw up, but it's something that you're never gonna see. And everything that you hope for, yeah, it was only in a dream. Hey, now I go and I roll and I roll and I know that I'm never breaking down. Yeah, I control all the flow of my soul, put a sword and a stone in the ground. Yeah, always said it would be someday. Hey, seeing castles in the clouds. And one way or another with a step in the room, everybody better bow. So be careful how you talk to me, 'cause there's only one king, hey, and there's only one crown, and there ain't enough room for us both on the throne. It's about to go down, so you better start running, so you better start running, hey, so you better start running, because we're coming right now, hey. Cause we're coming right now. Look, huddle masters talking whispers, situation getting tenser. You should probably pay attention. Boy, you know I'm born to win it. Ever since I had the vision, when I speak, my people listen. We can start a new tradition. All the children, men and women, gather around and burn it down. We gonna start a kingdom from scratch. Hey, far too many take advantage, but it ain't gonna happen like that. Time and time again, I wake up and enemies might attack, but all that matters, in my opinion, is that the dynasty lasts. So be careful how you talk to me, 'cause there's only one king, hey, and there's only one crown, and there ain't enough room for us both on the throne. It's about to go down, so you better start running. Look, so you better start running, Louisville, so you better start running, hey, 'cause I'm coming right now. 'Cause I'm coming right now. So I take this time to let y'all know this is the first time I've ever performed this song. This video's not even out yet. It's because y'all are leaders. I want to show y'all first, you know what I'm saying? Look. Hey, thank you. So you better start running. So you better start running. So you better start. So you better start. 'Cause there's only one king. Yeah, and there's only one crown, yeah, and there ain't enough room for us both. about to go down. Yeah. So you better start running. Look, so you better start running. So you better start running. Hey, 'cause I'm coming right now. 'Cause I'm coming right now. Look, I'm coming right now. I said I'm coming right now. 'Cause we're coming right, coming right. I said we're coming right now. Thank y'all so much.
Young youth, everyone. Woo! By the way, he's here with his mom, Michelle. Good job, Mom. My mom is here too, by the way, back there. Hi, Mom. Well, we're looking forward to listening to that song on Thursday Night Football. Welcome once again to the Leadership Louisville Luncheon. Our theme today is Big State, Big City, Big Solutions. And before we enjoy lunch, let's highlight a few of our special guests with us today. The Leadership Louisville Center graduates more community leaders from its civic programs than any other organization like it in the entire country. That's really phenomenal. In fact, over 400 graduated this year, and we want to celebrate them. First, a big shout out, and I know there are a lot of you here, so let's hear a big woohoo! 2017 Leadership Louisville classmates, including me. Woo! And of course, we know that we, the 2017 class, are the what? Best class ever. Thank you. Our 200 new Focus Louisville alum joined the center this year. 2 Ignite Louisville classes graduated this year, and these young professionals not only gained leadership development from some of the most dynamic companies in the region, but they put these skills to work for local nonprofits. So what did they do? They went back to their companies as better leaders. And then this year, they positively impacted 12 nonprofits by, listen to this, giving over 8,400 hours of pro bono work. The value to our nonprofit community of those services volunteered over $400,000. That's impressive. Really is. And Leadership Louisville's newest program, Encore Louisville, is connecting the considerable wisdom of our baby boomers with worthy nonprofits that need help managing critical strategic issues. And so far, they've served over 40 nonprofits with a value of those services of over $150,000. Well done. And our fabulous Bingham Fellows program continues to be a national best practice for driving positive social change. The 2017 Fellows have been working all year to advance Louisville's ability to develop and attract the talent that we need to compete as a city. And they will soon announce their initiatives and help Louisville win the talent of the future and bring them here to Louisville to stay, to work, to play, raise their families, and become an important part of our community. We want to recognize all of the alumni from this year, so I'd like to ask you to please stand right now if you graduated from one of these programs that I mentioned. Go on, please stand up. Well done. Now you see how far Leadership Louisville, how many people it impacts. Now please join me in welcoming Jennifer Hughes to the stage. Jennifer is a partner for DMLO CPA and is a current Leadership Louisville Center Board Chair. Jennifer?
Thank you, Shannon. Welcome again to the 2017 Leadership Louisville Luncheon. This event is proudly held in partnership by the Leadership Louisville Center and the Louisville's Office of the Mayor. Special welcome to Dallas Mayor Mike Rawlings. I can't hardly see you, but I enjoyed chatting with you this morning, and we certainly look forward to what you're going to share with us in a little bit. I did want to take a few moments to recognize my fellow board members, especially our immediate past board chair, Mike Mall, who I think is in the back somewhere. But could all of the current Leadership Louisville board members please stand and be recognized? Thank you all. It's been a pleasure working with you all, and it's certainly my honor to serve as board chair. As always, we'd like to thank those elected officials who are with us today. We have members of our Louisville Metro Council, JCPS Board of Education, as well as judges and mayors from various Kentucky cities, and we certainly want to thank you, all of you, for your service to our community. Also, today would not be possible at all without the generosity of our sponsors. So I do want to take a moment and recognize our sponsors. First of all, starting with our presenting sponsor, LG&E and KU Energy. Our VIP sponsor is Frost Brown Todd. Thank you. Gold sponsors with us today: Brown-Forman Corporation, Insider Louisville, Louisville Public Media, and the Paul Ogle Foundation. Our silver sponsors: Anthem Blue Cross and Blue Shield, Doe Anderson, Fifth Third Bank, Louisville Business First, Stites and Harbison, and Tandem Public Relations. Bronze sponsors today: CBRE, Chase, D.D. Williamson, GE Appliances, a hire company, LGD Development, Louisville Metro TV, MPI Printing, and the Lane Report. Again, thanks to all of you all, and also a big thank you to our various table sponsors that all together make this event the great event that it always is. We're going to take a short break for lunch now, so please enjoy your lunch, enjoy your conversation, and prepare for the great message that we're going to hear from Mayor Rawlings. Thank you all.
This is a great time to be part of the Leadership Louisville tradition. I am proud of the impact our alumni are making, and I'm proud to watch the impact of the center itself growing. It was just 2 years ago at this luncheon that we launched our new training and development initiative, the Leadership Green Room. Our achievement as a city is only limited by the caliber of leaders who will step up and serve. So, if we strive to be a world-class city, then it is imperative that we have access to world-class learning opportunities. Our Leadership Green Room calendar is bringing opportunities for everyone, from first-time supervisors to senior executives, directly to you. As an example, in September, we are offering Driving Strategic Impact, the Science of Strategy. Companies like Microsoft and American Express are using this very training because they know that for strategy to work, it needs to be owned by leaders throughout the organization. So managers at every level need to be empowered with tools to connect their daily work to the overall strategy. Now, the content alone sounds compelling, but we are bringing in the Chief Innovation Officer from Columbia Business School. This is one of the top 7 business schools in the world, and usually you would have to go to Columbia to sign up for this course. But we believe that making investments in people's capacity to lead is the best way to advance our organizations and our community. So we will continue to fill our calendar with opportunities to learn from the best leaders and the best business thinkers we can find. If you want to see what else is on our green room calendar, then you can do that online, but I do recommend you do it soon because almost all of our programs through December have only a few seats left. She said with glee. It's good to see a new program thriving. Our green room offerings, they focus on the individual. But to truly drive positive change, you need lots of individuals who are working in concert. That's where our civic programs come in. You heard Shannon mention some of the many accomplishments from this year's programs, but I want to focus for a moment on just one of those. Our Bingham Fellows work on a different civic issue each year. We choose our topic every year by answering one simple question. What is mission critical for our community to get right? What is that one most important issue to get in front of in order for us to truly be a world-class city? Much of the conversation you'll soon hear from the mayors will be dedicated to many of those important challenges that we face as cities. Among them is this. Safety is the basic ingredient for urban prosperity. The cost of violence on a city are incalculable. Both the real and even just the perceived safety of a city affects the citizens and the businesses that support our economy. Violence in any part of our city is a threat to prosperity everywhere. Far too many families and neighborhoods are grieving from the loss of life, and we simply cannot have it. For Louisville to be a safe, thriving city, we must strengthen our community's ability to prevent violence and work to resolve the underlying issues that lead to it. If we seek to be the location of choice for employers and for our families, we must dedicate attention and resources to ensure the highest quality of life in Louisville. The 2018 Bingham Fellows will strengthen our community's ability to prevent violence. They will work upstream to address the social and economic root causes that lead to it, with the hope of creating a more prosperous future for us all. If you think you might be called to make a difference in this endeavor, then your window to be a Bingham Fellow will be opening very soon. Okay, so I've talked a little bit about our leadership green room. I've talked a little bit about our civic programs, but there was just one other little thing we were working on I was going to talk about. Oh yeah, that's right. Last year at this luncheon, we launched one of our biggest endeavors since our founding in 1979. This is a plan to both identify a new location for our headquarters and to launch a fundraising campaign. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to tell you that not only have we found our new home, but construction is underway, and we expect to welcome you to our new space in just a few short months. Thanks to the generosity of many of you in this room, our capital campaign has been very successful. We are on target to hit our goal before we cut the ribbon this fall. Everyone who donates to the capital campaign will be invited to our grand opening. Everyone who donates to our capital campaign will be invited to our grand opening. And I know how excited you are to be there. So merely for your convenience only, there might be a pledge card at your table. Again, I'm just thinking of you because I know how much you want to be there. There is going to be one group of people that I know will be there. Of course, I am talking about the graduates of the best class ever. Okay, sure, every class seeks to claim this title, we know, but because of their generosity, one class will be officially recognized with the title on our donor wall. The class whose generous contributions to the capital campaign surpassed all others earned them the ultimate bragging rights. Okay, so certainly this year's class of 2017 was a strong contender. It's true, Shannon, they were strong, 2017. And the class of 2011 also, by the way, huge showing, loved class of 2011. But please join me in congratulating the big victor, the Leadership Louisville class of 2004. We thank them very much for being such a good leadership example and helping us out with our big vision. And all of you all who have been so wonderfully generous. While we are recognizing superlatives, I want to recognize someone who is very special to the Leadership Louisville Center. Ed Glasscock has stepped up to serve in big ways. As our campaign chair, he is a major reason for our success. We so appreciate his personal generosity, and we simply would not be where we are without him. But I also have to tell you how much I have learned from him personally. And frankly, you all should be a little bit scared, because what I learned is that fortune favors the bold. And so who knows what I'll be asking you all to do now that I've been trained by Ed Glasscock to go out and do those bold things. We would sit there and look at lists and be thinking about potential investors, and Ed would say, well, I think we should ask him for 100. And in my mind, I was thinking $100? And in Ed's mind, usually that figure has a few more zeros attached to it. So we would go out and we would make that bold ask, and lo and behold, people would say yes. And I think that people said yes because it's a good project that will be an amazing asset in our community. But I also think that people said yes because having Ed with you is a little bit like having the good housekeeping seal of approval. When we would go talk to people, they just knew that if Ed's working on it, it is something that is important to our community. It is an endeavor that will pay off. In just a moment, I'm going to show you a quick sneak preview of our new space. Pay special attention to the beautiful new classroom because it will be named in honor of Ed. We simply couldn't think of a better way to channel good mojo to make it a place where big thinkers will come to talk about how do we change the world for the better. If you agree with me, would you please join me in a round of applause for Ed Glasscock and everything he's done for our community. Okay, if you would please, I would love to have you all join me on a stroll down Main Street so that we can take a look at our new facility. We have so many wonderful partners that are involved in this endeavor, and I cannot wait to share this new space with each of you who are helping to make it happen. Speaking of wonderful partners, we are privileged to have a strong commitment to learning from so many organizations in our community, including and especially great companies like LG&E and KU Energy. We all know that the day-to-day energy they provide to residents and industry, they play a significant role in building a great city. But the team at LG&E does not simply think of you as customers. They treat you as their friends, their neighbors, and their business partners. Each year, they demonstrate their commitment to being a good neighbor with thousands of hours of community service. Their annual employee giving campaign has raised over $11 million to support local nonprofits. I'm particularly pleased to have our next speaker as an exemplar of those fine LG&E and KU employees. Will you please help me welcome Senior Vice President of Operations for LG&E and KU Energy, Lonnie Beller.
Nice update, Cynthia. Appreciate the opportunity to be here today, and it's really nice to join you for the 2017 Leadership Louisville Luncheon. We at LG&E and KU are proud to sponsor this annual event. It's a great way to reconnect with business and community leaders, not only from Louisville, but throughout the state of Kentucky, who share a common vision for our communities. This gathering brings together such wonderfully diverse leadership styles and perspectives. Whether you represent the business, government, or nonprofit sector, you know that community transformation depends upon effective leadership, outreach, and innovation. And that's just what today's theme, Big State, Big City, Big Solutions, is all about. Making a big impact where we live, work, and play. At LG&E and KU, we strive to do that every day by powering the lives of our citizens statewide and by continually investing in our system to deliver safe, reliable, low-cost energy to our customers. We also believe, like you, that truly serving the community means being a part of it too, through community investments, volunteerism, and charitable giving. Our friends at Leadership Louisville are making a lasting impact by fostering community leaders of today and tomorrow. Leaders who understand the issues facing our communities. Leaders who transform words into actions with big solutions. Leaders who propel our region forward. Today, it's my privilege to introduce one such leader. Since taking office in 2010, Mayor Greg Fischer has established an ambitious mission to create well-paying jobs, improve education at all levels, foster lifelong learning, health, safety, and an even more compassionate community. With his background as a businessman and entrepreneur, he brings a big data approach to city government to make it more efficient and more accessible. But he also knows that community transformation is about more than just the numbers. It's about changing people's lives so that every Louisvillian flourishes, regardless of their zip code. Our results-oriented mayor has provided visionary leadership for our city. During this time of rapid development, Louisville has seen $9 billion in capital construction, 23 new hotels, an expanded convention center, and more families moving into the downtown area. In terms of talent development, 44.7% of adults have a college degree, which is an increase from 38%. And with the creation of 60,000 jobs in the city's economic development strategy is truly working. Under Greg Fischer's leadership, Louisville is recognized as a top-notch city also. Over the last year, Forbes has ranked the city among the best for manufacturing, and ZipRecruiter named us a top 10 best city for job seekers, among other accolades. And these accolades extend to the mayor as well. Politico has named him the most innovative mayor in America and among the 11 most interesting mayors. And in 2013, Governing Magazine named him Public Official of the Year, and he was the only U.S. mayor to earn that honor. But Mayor Fischer also knows that we can't rest on these laurels. To move the city forward in substantial ways requires us to look at the big picture, including the considerable challenges we continue to face. He knows there's much more to do and that we must tackle those issues together. and I'm sure you're as eager as I am to hear his remarks today about his innovative plans to build on our city's current momentum. So without further ado, I'm pleased to introduce the man who is building one of the most vibrant and compassionate 21st century cities in America. Please give a warm welcome for Metro Louisville Mayor Greg Fischer.
Thank you, Lonnie. And good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all so much for coming out here today. I'm proud to welcome to Louisville today one of America's truly great mayors and great leaders. He comes to us from Dallas, though you may hear a trace of the Northeast in his voice. Mike Rawlings was born in Borger, Texas, but graduated from Boston College. He had a successful business career, first in advertising, then as CEO of Pizza Hut. That's one reason why he's been to Louisville many times before today. Now, during his time in office, Dallas has experienced really impressive economic growth. The city's property tax base has reached an all-time high of $118 billion. Unemployment there, like here, is under 4%, and Dallas is one of the fastest growing metropolitan areas, not just in the United States, but in the world. America got to know Mike Rawlings last July. And sadly, every mayor's nightmare happened in Dallas on July 7th when a sniper killed 5 Dallas police officers. I call those moral moments. How do we respond? Mike responded to this act of violence with grace, with leadership, with dignity and compassion. He did his city and our country proud. Chief Steve Conrad and I were in attendance at the memorial service to show our support for the officers who lost their lives and for police officers all across America. I believe that Mike felt everybody's frustration, anger, grief, and anxiety in that moment, and with America watching, he channeled it with these words, quote, "This is our chance to lead, to build a new model for our community, for our city, for our country. We may be sad, but we will not dwell in self-pity, for we have too much work to be done. We have too many bridges to build that we will cross together." And Mayor Rawlings has been building those bridges. One of his major initiatives include Grow South, which is a comprehensive economic development plan focused on southern Dallas, an area that is home to almost half of the city's population, but only 15% of its tax base. Like us, Mike believes in lifelong learning. He's fought to strengthen public education and drastically reduce poverty. He's earned national attention for his campaign against domestic violence, Dallas Men Against Abuse. As part of it, he released a video in which he says, "You can call a guy who abuses women a lot of things, but you cannot call him a man." He's created a visionary public park concept, the Trinity River Park Project, which will use private funding to transform nearly 300 acres into a multi-level green space with miles of pathways and trails connecting people and communities throughout the heart of Dallas. And he founded Dallas Arts Month, which devotes the entire month of April to celebrating the city's rich arts community and heritage. Now, speaking of the arts, Mayor Rawlings' impressive resume includes some pretty serious acting credits.
Hey, Mayor Rawlings. See you, Mark. Jerry. Hey, Bobby.
How are you holding up, Bobby?
I'm okay.
Well, it's a huge loss. It really is. JR was a one-of-a-kind guy.
You know, when I first came to Dallas, he told me, "You can do anything you want to in my city, as long as you win those football games."
I think he hated losing even more than I did. When the Mavs finally won that NBA championship, he sent me a note. All it said was, "About time."
Listen, thanks for coming.
Well, good luck.
Appreciate it.
Please welcome to the stage, my friend, Dallas Mayor Mike Rawlings.
God, I didn't know I was going to be embarrassed the first thing out of the box, Greg. It was bizarre when Larry Hagman died. Seriously. I mean, he was so synonymous with Dallas. they actually had me speak at his funeral, okay? And I had met Larry a few times, but I wasn't like Larry's best friend, but I was the mayor of Dallas, and I got to do that, so it was fun. Thank you, Greg, for inviting me. Thank you, Leadership Louisville, for what you're doing and inviting me as well. Great organization. Greg is doing impressive things here in Louisville, but he is important to this nation as well, because his voice about the future of America is a clarion call for progress that we need to make and new ideas that are coming forth here in Louisville. And so you're very lucky to have a public servant like Greg, and I consider him a friend, so thank you so much for serving. He talks about the importance of cities in America. And as you think about things that change, you realize that they only change in small pieces one at a time. And that's why the cities growing and taking their plans forward is so important as we look at the nation. We got to deconstruct it and look at cities. We have to look at neighborhoods. We have to look at blocks and make sure we do that. Louisville has got so much going on. I feel a part resident of Louisville for my many years of coming here with Yum as part of Pizza Hut, and my shout out to that great company and everything that is meant. I was also in the pizza wars against Papa John's, which is a Louisville company too. So it was we were close, and I just am so impressed with all the things that are happening today. I will say that this journey that I'm on is kind of a weird journey. I was a business person my whole life, and later in my life I decided to run for mayor. And these are personal decisions that you have to make, and each of us are faced with personal decisions, and this was a seminal one for me. I had been off of Pizza Hut for a while, doing some other business, and I got a call from time to time from people, and they said, you got to run for mayor. And it wasn't like this groundswell. There wasn't like a protest to get me to run for mayor or anything, but people were saying, no, it's your time. We need you to do this. And I got one such call when I was driving in a car with my son. And someone said, Mike, you ought to run. And I said, I don't think so. I'd kind of like to work on my golf game. And, you know, I just need to take some time off with my wife. But I said, this is a good opportunity to talk to my son. He was in college. And I turned to him and I said, you know, I've given you a lot of advice in my life. Why don't you give me some advice right now? And I said, no, in fact, don't give me advice. Tell me the question that I should ask myself in dealing with this issue. Should I run or should I not? Now, I will tell you that I had been hard on my son for a long time because he thought it was pretty hot stuff. And I was always saying, it's not about you, it's about us. It's about the team. You're a team player. It's team. It's grow up. It's not just about you. Stop being so selfish. And so he thought long and hard. And when those kids start to think that hard, it's scary, okay? And he looked at me and said, Dad, the question you should ask yourself is, what would the virtuous man do? I was done right then. All of a sudden, this stuff that all these lectures had come back to me. So suddenly I was the pig and the chicken and the pig story, about the chicken and the pig going down the road, and they see the ham and eggs for, $4.99, and the chicken's so proud and says, this is great, we're going to be famous. And the pig says, I don't know. We're going to be famous, they're going to love us. And they said, why don't you get excited, said the chicken to the pig. And he says, because the pig said, because you're just involved. Now I'm committed, okay? And so being mayor, you're not just kind of a Monday morning quarterback and around cocktails parties talking about politics. You're involved. But fortunately, Dallas is a great place to be involved with. It's a great product to sell. It's a city that has no natural reason for being. It doesn't have a beautiful river like you have. We're stuck in the middle of the North Texas plains. And I don't know why it happened, but somehow it did. And over the years, something remarkable happened. And I'm humble in saying this. I'm not trying to brag on our city, but to tell the goods and the bads, I've got to tell the goods as well. 1963, we all know what happened. It was the nadir of this, for the city of Dallas when John F. Kennedy was shot that day. We were seen as the city of hate by many of you that are my generation. You remember that. Coming on the heels of that was Mayor Eric Johnson, a man that founded Texas Instruments. And he decided that the future was going to be very bright for the city of Dallas. And he, much like Ed, said he had a phrase, dream no small dreams. Think big, in other words. Big. And so what he created was a city plan that was taught at Harvard for many, many years, and decided to do something crazy, and that was make peace with a sister city a little ways away called Fort Worth. We were always rivals, and create an airport called DFW Airport. Now the airport has got 7 runways, and it's bigger than the island of Manhattan, all right? Many of you have flown through it, but it was a massive decision. And when he did that, corporate moves started to follow, a lot from New York City, American Airlines, JCPenney's, and others. Today, fast forward, DFW is the 4th largest market in the United States. You have New York area, Los Angeles, Chicagoland, and then DFW. We'll take over Chicago probably before 2030. And it is a city that is attracting more and more corporate headquarters. We had already Southwest, we had Texas Instruments, we had Ross Perot's EDS, we had those companies, but now companies like Toyota and Kubota and State Farm and Santander, Jacobs Engineering have joined that community to be a corporate headquarters. Perfect location. Now we've got an airport, and business is starting to take off. In the last few years, we've had over $10 billion of new starts in our city alone. In the region, we've probably had $30 billion of new starts, and so many cranes and so many projects happening. In the city of Dallas, new houses, we've had about 5,000 new starts in our houses. Our property value has gone up by 32%, which is not always good when you pay those property taxes. But the assets are ballooning in those people's balance sheets. New jobs, we've created about 63,000 new jobs in the city of Dallas, and so many jobs are going unfilled, and I'll talk about that in a second. And Greg mentioned our unemployment rate is low. As I look at that history and say, what is our keys to success? Why has that happened? A few come to mind. First of all, I just want to tell you that it's great to do business in a state that has no state income tax, and the great location that Dallas finds itself in, plus that business has created a lot of very wealthy families and a lot of philanthropy. That's something you need to take advantage of, but it's kind of a gift that we are blessed with. But our keys are this. First of all, business is in the DNA. If you look at each step along the way of Dallas, it's usually been around businesses and job creators. And I think I'm so proud of the stories of business successes over the decades, whether it's Neiman Marcus or Mark Cuban. You know, more and more businesses are like that. But I will tell you, that comes with a responsibility. You could just be making money and putting it on your bank account. Or you could say, I'm going to be involved in the city of Dallas. So that business being important is only important to the city because the businesses believe that they've got to give back. They've got to be involved. They've got to take on capital projects. And if they don't, they're not doing their part. In fact, I was telling Greg, I make pitches all the time to businesses to come, and I say, you've got to come. And they say, that's very impressive. And then I say, stop, but maybe you shouldn't come, because I only want you to come if you're going to give money back to our community. And you know what they do? They really want to come then. They really want to be involved in this sport that we've got where we're all together. So business being part of our DNA is important. Investing in infrastructure is critical. I talked about DFW. We just did a whole new build in our Love Field, which is Southwest's headquarters. And now you can fly all over the United States out of Love Field. We've got the largest light rail system in the United States. And we have built a new convention hotel, much like you've done with the Omni, and that's helped our convention business. I think we think regionally and we act neighborly, okay? What does that mean? We realize that people don't understand the difference between our city limits, one city to another, and we market and we talk about ourselves together. But we make sure that we take care of each neighborhood and make it a place where people want to come and stay and have a family to grow up on. The other thing is we believe in diversity. We believe that diversity is not a politically correct term. It's a strategic necessity to compete in this world today. That we've got to have the best and the brightest and the hardest working people, the most family-driven people to come and be part of this American dream. And so we have honored refugees from all over the world, and we will stand by them. We will stand by them no matter what happens, because they're citizens of Dallas. And then lastly, we believe that we've got to invest in arts and park. You know, someone said to me that the sign of a great city is to attract young people. I met so many of those young people last night when I was walking around here in Louisville, people wanting to build their lives in this great city. And that's what you've got to do. And to be able to do that, these folks want a high quality of life. So the parks we've built are remarkable. We've built them over highways. We've built them around neighborhoods. We've built them on train tracks. We've built them in old parks and new parks. And then we've got the largest arts district in the United States. We lost Boeing. Boeing was going to move from Seattle to Dallas. They moved to Chicago instead. And the complaint was, you guys aren't invested in the arts like you need to be. And we said, got it. We listened to customers, okay? And we said, we're going to change that. And now we have 5 Pritzker Award-winning architects building with an opera house and a theater center and a museum of nature and science and a sculpture garden. And all this makes us a higher quality of life city. So that's kind of what I do, the little case study of what's made us successful. But I will tell you, we got some serious issues. We're a very wealthy city. We've got a lot of money. We've got at least 15 billionaires in the city of Dallas. That doesn't count the half-billionaires, okay? But at the same time, we're the #1 city with children growing up in poverty. How can that happen? In Dallas, Texas, we've got 34% of our children grow up in a house where they don't have enough money to eat at times. And it's just remarkable, obviously, that people come for jobs and their money, and they don't have much money, and they got an aunt that they're staying with, and pretty soon this population grows up. And we can kind of act like it's not important to us, but it is a key existential issue that we're facing. Because if we don't deal with this gap between the haves and the have-nots, ladies and gentlemen, A train is coming at us like you won't ever see again. Forget about Charlottesville. If we don't figure out how to get those poor individuals that live in our communities educated and be part of the American dream, we will have a bomb that goes off in this country. And so we're working hard at that in Dallas. We're making sure that we analyze about what we do. We want to make sure that we all understand our role. I was confused being mayor. Really, it was like I was a business guy. What does a mayor do? There's not a book on it. It's like, what's your raison d'etre? And I figured out that I couldn't make everybody happy. I didn't have a bunch of money I could just give to everybody. But I could go back to the Declaration of Independence, and I believe that our job is to create an opportunity for every individual to seek life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay? That's what this country's built on. So my job is just to create opportunities. It's going to be their choice whether they do it or not. But when I see some people have some of those opportunities and other people don't, I'm failing. You need to give me an F. But if I can get those folks being part of it, now we succeed as a city. So we have worked hard at that. I created a mayor's task force on poverty and understood that so many of these are mothers with a couple of 3 kids working their tails off, they drive too far to work. Meanwhile, they don't have the child care necessary. They don't have the health care necessary. And everybody's sitting there saying, come on, get on your feet. You can do it. And we've got to figure out at the local level how to help these mothers raise those families in a way that this isn't generational poverty forever and ever. We found out that English, thank you. We found out that English as a second language isn't a requirement in the business world. We got to stop being politically correct. Those folks have got to learn how to read and write in English, and we've got a real challenge there. And so we are putting a full force effort to make sure they've got that education as adults and as children. We found teenage pregnancy in Dallas was way out of hand. Our levels in some of our parts of our city are like West Africa. Babies having babies. And we're going to have to honest talk to those families and say there's a time for women to have babies, but they need to get that education and break a cycle that's happened. These are tough issues, but if they're not handled at the local level, they will never be handled at the state level or the federal level. We've got to do it together at the local level. We've got to make sure that we understand that the only proven way to deal with this issue is through education, okay? That is the only sustainable way. We know when people get a high school education and they get college, they can get on. There are 45,000 jobs, Greg, in the Dallas area paying $17.50 an hour and up, okay? That go unfilled because we don't have the skills, and there are all these poor people. What does that tell you? It tells you it's about education. It's in closing that gap. So we've got a system that is built on educating people in Prussia in the 18th century, in an agricultural society, in a society where it's just not even relevant anymore. And we've got to reform and change our education system in a major way, step function way. I love these things because I learned so much, and I'm learning so much from Greg on how the whole child is thought about. Our lack of investment in early childhood is abysmal, okay? We know the cake is pretty much baked when that kid gets to be about 5 or 6 in the way their mind's working. And we've got to get serious about that. So those are the issues we're wrestling with, and we stay up all night and we have fights about it and we work on it, and there's well-meaning people. But times are wasting. That gap's getting bigger. People are getting poorer. And those kids are not getting the leg up. We've got programs, and I can spend a lot of time about it. But ultimately, it's a personal choice. It's a personal choice I made to run for mayor when my son called me out. It's a personal choice you make every day to either say, am I going to be involved or not? I hearken back to Martin Buber. Martin Buber is a Jewish theologian, and he wrote a book many decades ago called I, Thou. And there was a basic premise about your individual well-being, that it wasn't just about you, but how you lived was how you treated another individual. And if you treated that other individual as a thing, you really became an object yourself. But when you lifted that person up and treated them like God, you had a little divine in your heart as well. And you created an I-thou relationship. That is the heaven on earth that we talk about when we do that. And when we don't, we fall short of that glory, and we ultimately will not succeed in building a great city. I call on you to continue the growth in Louisville and what you've done here, and be a shining light and a shining example for us in the country from an innovation standpoint and a heart standpoint. You have got a great heritage, and I believe a great future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Mike Rawlings. Please welcome back to the stage Mayor Fischer and Shannon Cohen from Wave TV.
Thank you so much, Mayor Rawlings. Let's give him a big round of applause for sharing his wisdom, his passion, his compassion with us, and taking time out of your schedule, because we know that you are busy. Of course, I feel so blessed to be back here in Louisville. But
you were in Dallas.
I worked in Dallas from 2004 through 2007 in the Big D. And I read about you something rather interesting that you did not share today, that when you first went to Dallas in the late 70s, you wanted to get into radio. So what happened? How'd you end up as CEO?
I had no money, had to get a job, and it was a job that paid me, I think it was $500 a week, and it was big money, and I got fired that next year. I've always told everybody it's good to be fired one time in your life, so I got into advertising.
Gotcha, and then that's what led you to become CEO of Pizza Hut. And of course, Mayor Fischer, you have been involved in so many different businesses as well, and that is my first question to both of you. How do you feel having that business experience? How does that impact the way that you both lead your cities?
Well, we're a little unusual in that I'd say elected officials, maybe 15% or so have a business background. So that doesn't mean that's good or bad, but it does focus your mind on getting things done. And whatever business I was involved with, I define the purpose of all of our businesses as a platform for human potential to flourish. And that, coincidentally, is how we define what the purpose of our city is. We are a platform for human potential to flourish, and that's the city value of compassion. But when you hear about all these accolades we're getting around the country, it's because we're approaching our work in three ways. One is just the daily work of running a city, so effective recycling, public safety, et cetera, et cetera. The second is focus on continuous improvement, so we're the best in whatever we do. These are all these stat programs that you can see online. But then the third is, part of everybody's job is also innovation. How do you break the code so that we deliver new services in ways that people are really excited by? Because government is a service business. So you start with the main purpose and then execute every day. It's all about execution.
Yeah, to me, you know, in business, you've got a job to do. You've got to deliver a service. You've got to manufacture something. You've got to hit your sales quota. And if you don't, you get fired, okay? That's the way it happens. If you don't hit your numbers, it's an issue. The problem is in government, you only do that when you're elected. And so you need to have a mentality. It's not about the election. It's about every month's numbers and how you approach that. And the way you do that is much like what Greg just said, but you got to be very clear about your goals. You've got to be very clear about that plan that you're going to have and the metrics, and then measure yourselves against that. So that skill set, I think, helps me a lot being mayor.
You don't
I
sleep
think,
very
Shannon,
much, huh?
just one other thing. You know, I've said to be a good mayor, you have to have the head of a chief executive officer and the heart of a social worker. You know, because everybody's on your team in the city. In a business, you get to select your employees, your customers, but you got to bring everybody along with this. And a great company thinks that way as well. If you're a great, compassionate company, that means the human potential of all of your employees is flourishing, and nobody can defeat you as a for-profit company if that's your strategy.
We have heard a lot, of course, throughout the country about the Confederate statues, and we know that Dallas has a lot, Louisville facing this issue. In fact, Mayor Fischer, you started this a year ago. You had the statue from University of Louisville. You were behind the movement to have that moved somewhere else. And I know both of you have asked now for task force to look at all of the public art and to decide if it should stay or go. And how do you see this conversation moving forward? There's a lot of debate on it.
Well, I think there are two things that I've learned from this. First of all, I agree with Greg about being a learning leader. To be a leader, you have to constantly be learning. And if you don't take out the ahas from these things, you really don't learn. The first thing is that this has been an important issue, but it's been kind of rationally debated. After Charlottesville, when you see those hundreds of men, white men, with torches, which scared me to death, it turns from a rational conversation to an emotional thing. And as much as you can say, all right, this has got a historical context, or this is a piece of art, you know, and those things are important. They've been there for a long time. Now suddenly it's a totem for evil. Now maybe that's unfair, but that's, as Henry Kissinger said, perception is reality. That's the way we look at it. So you have, as a leader, have got to realize that the masses now believe you're going to either be behind a totem for evil or not. And the whole conversation's changed. The second thing I've learned is that let's use these moments to deal with racial discussions. In Dallas, we're a very polite city. Probably not as polite as Louisville, okay? You're very polite, all right?
The drivers are a little more difficult.
But we're polite. But you scratch the surface, and race is right there, okay? And this is a good opportunity for us to kind of discuss race, using this as the case study, and say what's the so what of how we move forward together.
Well, and obviously I regret what happened in Charlottesville, and I think it was one of these moral moments I referred to earlier that was kind of a layup for any leader, whether you're in the business community or an elected official, to immediately denounce any form of extremism, hatred, bigotry, neo-Nazi activity was there. I mean, that's something that's not who we aspire to be as a country. And I emphasize aspire because some people would say that's not who we are as a country. Well, the reality is there is still significant amount of racism, structural disadvantages toward people of color in all of our country and cities as well. And so what's good about the moment, as Mike said, is there are more people interested now in having this discussion than ever before. I'm really glad we moved our Confederate statue about a year ago, or else we'd be in the middle of all the neo-Nazis visiting town and all that, tearing us apart. But we're still identifying any piece that has any connotation to extremism or bigotry associated with it. And the biggest issue now with us is this Castleman statue. So when you're mayor, within 5 minutes, here's what will happen to you. Somebody will come up to me and say, Mayor, if you don't move that Castleman statue, you're a racist and we don't have any benefit for you. I said, well, remember, I moved the other statue. Give me a little credit first. But then 5 minutes later, somebody else will come up and say, why are we even having this conversation? So our job is to unify, speak the truth, bring people together. So we are going to use this opportunity as a time to have broad community discussions around race, inequality, and then deal with what our country has never dealt with adequately, and that's what is referred to as the original sin of our country. And that, of course, is when white people had the ability to buy and sell black people. Now, when I say that a lot, some white people automatically get defensive, to which I say, why are you defensive? You never owned a slave. You weren't there. So this is part of the kind of cultural DNA of our country and our city that we need to unpack. And we need to unpack it so that we have a more positive and equitable pathway forward for our country. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity for these broad discussions, because what it's going to do is increase our collective consciousness as a community that we're in this together, and we need to find a way to combat what Mike just talked about right now, because we have the racial discussion to take place, but then we have the inequality discussion to take place right now. There's more disparity of wealth and income in our country right now than any time since the Great Depression. And when you see these riots taking place in our country, what the streets are screaming out is, I feel hopeless and disconnected about a positive future. And if we don't figure that out, to parrot what you said, Mike, as a country, we're in big trouble. And we are a rich country. There is plenty to go around for everybody, and everybody wants to have dignity of work, they want to have a skill, they want to have a pathway forward. And I think Charlottesville is providing this breakthrough opportunity for us as a city and our country.
You know, I'm glad you just said that. If I can just jump in one thing, because I've said this and people didn't like it, but you said it, and they probably like you. But, you know, everybody goes, oh my God, this country's going to hell in a handbasket right now. It's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. In some ways, I go, no, I think this may be a sign of getting better. Because if you can't see a disease, okay, or a problem, you'll never fix it. And now these things are coming to the surface. And now we're going to be able to attack it and focus on it. So in some ways, I think this is a healthier sign.
And I'd encourage everybody to lean into it. What I found is when I talk about racism, when I talk about privilege, family privilege, white privilege, sometimes people recoil, but if I keep talking about it, they come into the conversation, in the second conversation, and the third conversation. It's not attacking anybody, it's just about providing context for who we are. For a little history, when in Germany, in third grade, in their formal education system, their students spend a lot of time on the Holocaust. They're ashamed, but they don't hide from it. But by drilling this into every one of their kids, they're saying, we will never do this as a country. We have not adequately done that with slavery. When the Berlin Wall came down, they spent 2 years figuring out, what are we going to do with this? You know, it was there for 50 years. There's no need to jump into this right away. Use it as an opportunity to kind of redefine who we are and what we aspire to be as a city. So let's use this time to be thoughtful about all this.
What time frame are we looking at, Mayor, for this, the decisions to be made about the various statues here in Louisville?
Well, on September 6th, the Commission on Public Art will have any other public art objects identified at that point in time. We'll be kicking off some education then later in September that will last for a month or two or so. Then we'll see where we go from there.
Gotcha. Okay. Mayor Rawlings, I was shocked with that figure that you gave, that 48,000 jobs. 4,500. Oh, 4,500. Okay. All right.
8,000, I misspoke.
Okay.
I'm
40.
sorry.
Well, no. I may have misheard. So 4,500, which is still a lot of high-paying jobs that you can't fill. We have a lot of people in this room right now probably looking to hire people, but we can't find them here in Louisville. So what is the key to bringing these educated people here to your city, in your case Dallas, to stay and to raise their families?
Well, we can't do it. I mean, we can't bring enough people in. I mean, Dallas, someone told me we were the #1 place to drop off a one-way U-Haul rental, okay? I mean, you know, just give you kind of a metric. So you cannot hire enough people from other places and move them in town and have them find homes. ultimately, you've got to grow within your own city. Every organization's got to grow their own. And that's why this is so seminal, because we'll have those businesses moving to someplace else if we lose it. And that's why I've got so much passion about education, about workforce training. I mean, this country, you'd think, Greg said our jobs as mayors are to unify a city. And any great leader should be about unification, because we're stronger together as opposed to dividing. Some folks don't believe that, but I really do believe that that's what you got to do. And to me, we should, as a country, get unified around the future of these kids in job training and workforce training and education. That shouldn't be a political issue. It should be a value that this country...
So it's starting early with the people you already have in North Texas.
Look, this is a generational issue. The good news, the bad news is a generational issue. The good news is a generational issue. If we change things, starting with 3-year-olds, okay, and we change the way we approach this thing and track each individual or whatever we do, we could make a difference in 20 years. I mean, it could be a big light bulb going off in the United States.
But Mayor Fischer, I know we have immediate needs here in Louisville, and we can't wait for these kids to grow up, right? So what are we doing then to bring this talent here to Louisville?
Well, so we have 30,000 open jobs in Louisville right now. 70% of them don't require a 4-year degree. With a 2-year degree, you can fill 70% of STEM jobs as well. So there's a lot of opportunity. So GLI is leading a talent recruitment initiative. These are a lot of people that will move from expensive cities like Dallas to less expensive cities like Louisville that have a higher quality of life. And that's how people move back and forth. Cut his mic over there. So two things. One is, you have to redevelop your education system. We're doing that through something we call Louisville Promise, formerly known as Cradle to Career, which starts at the very beginning and develops kids so that everybody has access to have some type of post-secondary specialization. If they don't want to go to college, you got to at least have plumber's degree, something like that, so you're not going to live in poverty. That's growing our own talent. Immediate talent development through projects like Code Louisville, developing coders. We've done 500 coders over the last couple of years. The Urban League has talent development through Kentuckiana Builds, getting people ready for our construction industry, which are good middle wage jobs also. So, and then one last thing is, and I would ask this to all business people in the room, please make sure that you are paying your people competitively on a regional basis. We have data in the last year that shows that we are lagging Cincinnati, Nashville, Indianapolis, on average by about 5%. Okay, so if you're wondering, especially with younger folks, they're looking where they're going to live, we can sell our high quality of life, our low cost of living here, but if we are not paying a competitive regional wage, those young kids are going to move to other cities. So increase your compensation. How's that sound?
You know,
that helps.
The one thing Louisville's got going versus Dallas, and the facts came out, but I got to make sure everybody hears this, is you've got a much more educated workforce percentage-wise than Dallas. I mean, what was yours, 35%?
We're close to 45%.
45%.
Either 2 or 4-year degree.
And we're probably 20%, okay? That shows you the gap that we've got to make up, you know.
Well, we love watching Sunday Night Football, right? And of course, America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. And I used to do a show with Troy Aikman, which was a lot of fun, even though I don't know that much about football. But don't tell Troy Aikman that. But what do you think that does for your city, having the light shine so brightly on it for football? And Mayor Fischer, my question to you would then be, building a pro soccer stadium, do you think that would improve the PR of Louisville?
So people know Dallas for a lot of things. That stupid TV show that we saw.
You were so good. You should have won an award for that.
Emmy. You know, JFK, but the Dallas Cowboys, I mean, every time people see Shark Tank, I think they probably know that Mark Cuban came from
But
Dallas.
he went to IU, by the way.
I know, I did, he did. So you have these different branding opportunities, And so we wrap ourselves firmly in that flag. It can bite you at times when we have a running back that gets suspended for 6 games because of domestic violence. That's not good. And we have to speak about that honestly. And we have to say that you just don't do that in an acceptable society today. We've got to do that. But we're a brand. Dallas is a brand. And we've got to use those stories and that sense of excitement and bigness. As I said, big things happen in Dallas, and Jerry Jones does it in a big way, and so that's a good thing. I love how we talked about what's happened in Louisville here with your bourbons. I mean, to take bourbons and take that to the next level. Every brand needs it, and so it's more than just sport. It's part about building a city.
Well, Louisville City Soccer Club has been such a great addition to our sports scene here over the last 3 years, and the recent games have all been sold out as well. So
fun.
Yeah, so to get to the next level with professional soccer, you have to have a dedicated stadium for that. So then that brings into the question of, what is the ratio of private ownership money versus public money as well. We've got a great potential location for it between Butchertown and Waterfront Park right off of I-64. You can see that, so that's ideal. The city has options on all that land over there, so we'll secure ownership of the land regardless. So we're waiting right now to see how the ownership group is going to come together with their personal investment package. The city's already committed what our play is there. Hopefully that'll all be resolved by the end of the year and we'll be off and running, but I'd love to see it.
And we do love our bourbon here in Louisville.
Bourbonism has turned out to be a real thing. People kind of snickered 6 years ago when we said, let's really promote bourbon tourism with our great local food scene and bourbon. Nobody else has it in the world now. Last year we had 24 million tourist visits to the city. We've got 25 hotels under construction or planned right now.
People are talking about it in Dallas. I mean, people talk about Louisville bourbon.
Yeah. I think we're
they
early.
Like to drink in Dallas, so it's.
Well, we endorse that as long as it's responsible drinking. And I think bourbonism, this whole thing, we're still very early in the game, and bourbon, just not to get too wonky from a business perspective, but bourbon only has 10% of the global market share of Scotch, so it's going to be super easy for bourbon to continue to rapidly grow over the coming decades, and that's going to be good for the economy of Louisville.
Wonderful. Well, I had so many more questions, but unfortunately, we are out of time, and we would like to thank Mayor Rawlings once again. Thank you so much for coming to Louisville.
Thank you for everybody being such a great host.
And Mayor Fischer, thank you. We would go on for longer, but we know now that Mayor Fischer gave that directive that all of our people have to go back and tell their boss they need a raise. So, right, and then they'll be more productive as a result. So did you hear that, Ken Salvaggi? Thank you so much. Cynthia?
Thank you very much to our mayors and to Shannon. We had such a wonderful time. I always think one of the greatest qualities of leaders is to practice gratitude. So I just want to close on a note of thanks. One, we have a little gift for you, our visiting mayor. Wow. We have this lovely bourbon barrel head that was produced by the Kentucky Distillers Association, so it's got kind of a round robin there. And then we also have a bottle of Woodford Reserve for you. We're so pleased to have all of you with us. We have so many wonderful friends at the Leadership Louisville Center. We have lots of exciting things coming up, so we know we'll see you again very soon. I want to close out with a special thanks. I have two families here. One, I have actually a lot of my family is in the back, my family of origin, but then the other family that I have here are the people that I work with on the 9 to 5, or last night was, 8 or 9 or however long it was when we all left. But the Leadership Louisville Center staff are spectacular, and they've done such a nice job. Can we close with a round of applause for them and their effort? Now remember, we want to see you at our grand opening at our new space, and the way that you might get an invitation to come hang out with us is by making a donation to the Capital Campaign, and you just happen to have a form. So if you haven't gotten around to that gift, you can grab your form, and on the way out the door, the staff will be there to collect those from you. We look forward to having you with us in a program soon. Thank you very much for being with us, and thanks to all our sponsors and friends for making this happen.
This has been a Metro TV production, a public service of Louisville Metro government.